You are being told to brace for a recession, a correction, a soft landing. They are lying to you. What's coming in 2025 is not a recession. It is a scheduled demolition of the middle class. The everything bubble in stocks, in real estate, in bonds wasn't an accident. It was the setup. And the real collapse, the one that will make 1929 and 2008 look like tremors before the earthquake, is the part nobody sees coming. It's the part that happens in the shadows. You feel it, don't you? The inflation that bleeds you dry every single week. The house you can never afford, no matter how hard you work. The paycheck that vanishes before it even hits your bank account. This isn't economic mismanagement. It's a design. This financial pain is the symptom. I'm here to show you the disease. We're a community of truth seekers here. We look at the raw data, not the media narrative. Drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? What's the price of a gallon of milk or gas in your town? Let's see just how global this engineered pain really is. And if you are sick of the official story, subscribe right now. Stick with me, and I'll give you the unfiltered truth. Because the elites are counting on your confusion. Let's clear it up. Most people think they understand financial history. They think they know 1929. They think they know 2008. But they're wrong. They've been taught to look at the symptom, not the weapon. In 1929, the bubble was obvious. It was visible. It was stocks. People heard stories of their shoeshine boy giving stock tips. They were buying on margin, borrowing money directly from a broker to buy shares. When the market turned, the brokers made margin calls. They demanded their money back instantly. The small-time investors, the public, were forced to sell everything to cover their debts. It was a visible panic, an obvious, straightforward collapse. The result? The Great Depression. Stocks fell nearly 90%. Unemployment hit 25%. A generation was scarred by poverty, forever changed by the trauma of total financial ruin. Then, we were told, the government fixed it. They created the SEC to police the markets. They insured our deposits with the FDIC, promising your money was safe. They even passed the Glass-Steagall Act, building a firewall to separate safe consumer banking from risky investment banking. The system was finally safe. Until 2008. In 2008, the firewall was gone. Glass-Steagall had been repealed. The bubble was different, but still visible. This time, it was housing. Wall Street had a new toy, the mortgage-backed security, MBS. They took thousands of toxic, subprime mortgages, loans given to people with no jobs and no income, people who could never possibly pay them back, and bundled them together. Then they paid off the rating agencies to stamp this financial poison with a AAA safe rating. They sold this poison to pension funds, to retirees, to entire countries, calling it a safe investment. But when the homeowners, as expected, started defaulting, the poison spread. The dominoes fell. Lehman Brothers, a 150-year-old bank, vanished overnight. The entire global financial system froze solid. Stocks fell over 50%. Millions lost their homes. And what was the solution? The government and the Federal Reserve rode in with a trillion-dollar bailout. They used your tax money to reward the very banks that caused the crisis, declaring them too big to fail. They promised it would never happen again. They promised new regulations. They promised they had learned their lesson. Another lie. Now look at today, 2025. We are staring down the barrel of a monster that dwarfs them both. We have the wild, manic stock market speculation of 1929, hyper-concentrated in just a few magnificent 7 tech stocks, all fueled by AI hype. We have the asset bubble of 2008, but this time it's not just in housing. It's in everything. Stocks, bonds, and real estate, all simultaneously inflated to impossible, absurd highs by 15 years of 0% interest rates and trillions upon trillions in central bank money printing. The official story is that the Fed is fixing this by raising interest rates. They're trying to engineer a soft landing. But this is the first great deception. Let's draw the parallels. In 1929, the public was told that new technology, the radio, the automobile, had created a permanent new plateau of prosperity. Old rules of valuation no longer applied. In 2025, we're told that artificial intelligence has created a new paradigm, justifying stock valuations that are double their historical average. Sound familiar? In 2008, banks created complex products, the MBS and the CDO, to hide toxic debt and sell it to unsuspecting investors. They privatized all the gains and then, when the bubble burst, they socialized all the losses. In 2025, we're told the banks are well capitalized and stress tested. But what if the toxic debt isn't in the banks this time? What if it's between them, in a private, unregulated market hidden from all regulators? A market 100 times bigger? Sound familiar? In both 1929 and 2008, the crash was triggered by a loss of faith in the visible assets. Stocks in 29, housing in '08. The public could see what was collapsing, but the everything bubble of today is different. The assets themselves, the stocks you see on the S&P 500, the housing prices, the government bonds, are no longer the real market. They are just the collateral. They are the poker chips being used in a much, much bigger game. A game played in the dark by players you've never heard of, using financial weapons you don't understand. A public frenzy of speculation, all while the real danger lies in a hidden, unregulated system of bets between the elites. Sound familiar? They want you to watch the stock market. They want you to worry about your 401k. They want you to track housing prices. But that's not the bomb. That's just the fuse. So what is this hidden game? Where is the real crisis? It's called the shadow banking system, and its weapon of choice is the over-the-counter, or OTC, derivative. You will not hear this on the nightly news. The news talks about market cap, the value of all stocks. Globally, maybe that's $100 trillion. They talk about global GDP, everything the world produces in a year. Maybe another $100 trillion. That sounds big, until you see the monster in the closet. The Bank for International Settlements, the central bank of all other central banks, the most elite financial institution on earth, gives us a peek. The notional value of the global OTC derivatives market? Over $630 trillion. Let me say that again. $630 trillion. That's 6 times the entire planet's GDP. And that's just the reported number. Many analysts believe the real, unreported and hidden bets push the total value to over $1 quadrillion. That's $1,000 trillion. It is a financial superstructure of private bets, contracts, and insurance policies built on top of the real economy. This isn't your grandfather's market. This isn't investing. This is parasitic finance at its absolute peak. These are side bets. They are bets on whether a company will default, bets on whether an interest rate will move, bets on whether your mortgage will fail. And here's the twist. The everything bubble was necessary to fuel this machine. The elites needed inflated assets, stocks, bonds, commercial real estate, to use as collateral for their high-stakes casino. But the 15 years of free money is over. The Fed raised rates. The collateral is now shrinking. The bubble is popping. And all those $630 trillion in bets are coming due. This is what makes 2025 infinitely worse than 1929. In 1929, when you went broke, you were just broke. In 2025, when a major hedge fund goes broke, it is a counterparty to dozens of other banks. Its failure triggers their failure. It's a domino chain that no one can stop. We saw a preview of this. A dress rehearsal. In March 2021, a single, unknown family office called Archegos Capital blew up. They used a specific derivative to build a $100 billion position in stocks, using only $15 billion of their own money. When the stocks wobbled, they got a margin call. They couldn't pay. In 48 hours, $100 billion vanished. Global banks like Credit Suisse and Nomura lost billions. In fact, Credit Suisse was so damaged, so hollowed out, it had to be forcibly sold for parts less than a year later. Archegos was a rounding error. The real crisis will be when this happens to something 100 times its size. And it's all focused on one specific, toxic derivative that no one is talking about. It's the same weapon that blew up 2008, but it's back on steroids. And the name of the bank holding the most of it? You won't believe the name. Welcome back. That name? It's not one bank. It's all of them. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, the major prime brokers. And the weapon they've given to the entire hedge fund industry is the total return swap, TRS, and its evil twin, the credit default swap, CDS. This is the deep dive. Stay with me. This is the how. This is the receipt for the end of the world. Let's start with the weapon from 2008, the credit default swap. A CDS is simple. It's an insurance policy on a bond. Let's say you own a $10 million bond from a risky company. You're afraid it might go bankrupt. a big bank, come to you and say, pay me $100,000 a year. If that company defaults, I will pay you the full $10 million. You buy the insurance. You feel safe. I get your $100,000. But here's the con. I don't have to own the bond to buy that insurance. I can just buy the insurance. I can bet on your bond failing, even though I have no stake in it. Now, what happens if I, a massive predatory hedge fund, buy $1 billion in CDS insurance on that one $10 million company? I am now betting $1 billion that it will fail. I have a massive direct incentive to make it fail. I can spread rumors about the company. I can short its stock to drive its price down. I can drive its borrowing costs up until it suffocates. I am literally paying for the right to assassinate a company, and I get a 100-to-1 payout when it dies. This is parasitic finance. This is what blew up the housing market. Wall Street wasn't just insuring the mortgages. They were building a bonfire of bets against them, knowing they were designed to fail. After 2008, they told us this was regulated. Another lie. It just moved deeper into the shadows. The market for credit default swaps today is still over $8 trillion. But that's just the appetizer. The main course is the total return swap. This is the weapon Archegos used. This is the weapon that is, right now, completely obscuring the real leverage in the everything bubble. A total return swap is financial magic. It's an illusion. Let's say a hedge fund wants to buy $1 billion of Amazon stock. Normally, they'd have to put up at least $500 million in cash. And when they buy that much, they have to file a 13F report with the SEC. The public sees their position, but the fund doesn't want that. They want secrecy. They want leverage. So they go to a prime broker, say Goldman Sachs. They make a deal. They say, Goldman, you buy $1 billion of Amazon stock. We, the hedge fund, will pay you a small fee, plus any interest. In return, you give us the total return on that stock. If the stock goes up 10%, you pay us $100 million. If it goes down 10%, we pay you $100 million. Look at what just happened. The hedge fund never actually owns the stock. It's not on their books. They don't report it to the SEC. It's invisible, but they get 100% of the profit and loss. Goldman Sachs is happy because they technically own the stock, hold it as collateral, and get a guaranteed fee. The hedge fund is happy because they now control $1 billion of Amazon for maybe $100 million in collateral. That's 10-to-1 leverage. Archegos got 20-to-1 leverage from its brokers. Some get 50-to-1. Now multiply this. Multiply this by thousands of funds. Across all the magnificent 7 stocks. Across corporate bonds. Across commercial real estate. What you have is an illusion. The stock market's value is a lie. It has been artificially inflated by billions in hidden, borrowed money. This hidden leverage is what makes the bubble feel so strong. It's what makes people ask, how does the market keep going up when the economy is so bad? Because it's being pumped full of air from a hidden tank. And here's the kill shot. The everything bubble is popping. The Fed raised rates. The 15-year party is over. The air is finally coming out. Let's look at the first domino, commercial real estate, CRE. This is the big one. Over $2.5 trillion in commercial real estate debt is coming due in the next 3 years. This is not an opinion. It is a fact. These loans were made when office buildings were full and interest rates were 3%. Today, thanks to remote work, office vacancy rates in cities like San Francisco and Chicago are over 35%. Those buildings are empty. They are worthless. And the new interest rate to refinance? It's 8% or 9%. The math is broken. They cannot be refinanced. They will default. This is where the derivatives come in. The regional banks hold trillions in this toxic CRE debt. We saw them start to fail in 2023. But who insured that debt? Who sold the credit default swaps on it? The big banks. The shadow banks. And who used total return swaps to bet against those regional bank stocks, knowing they would collapse? The elite hedge funds. They are playing both sides. They created the bubble. They sold insurance on the bubble. And now they are taking out massive, hidden bets on the bubble popping. This isn't investing. This is an engineered collapse. The scale of this is almost impossible to comprehend. The U.S. national debt is over $34 trillion. That's a meaningless number, so let's make it real. The interest payment on that debt, not the debt itself, just the interest, is now over $1 trillion a year. That is more than the entire defense budget. This debt is the safe asset that underpins the entire $630 trillion derivative market. But it's not safe. The US government is broke. When investors finally realize this, when the safe collateral for the entire global derivative casino is revealed to be worthless, it's game over. This is the ultimate moral hazard. This is the grand illusion. This is 1929's leverage, 2008's complexity, and a new, global, unregulated casino, all rolled into one. The collapse of 2025 to 2026 will not be a few banks failing. It will be the counterparties failing. A hedge fund fails, which means it can't pay Goldman Sachs. Goldman seizes its collateral, the stocks, and dumps them on the market, causing a crash. But Goldman was also a counterparty to Morgan Stanley, which was a counterparty to a pension fund in Europe, which was a counterparty to a bank in Japan. The dominoes don't just fall in one country. They fall globally. In seconds, the entire system is one giant, interconnected, parasitic time bomb. And the clock just struck midnight. So what is the endgame? It's not a recovery. It's not a recession. It is a reset. When this derivative chain reaction begins, it will be faster than 1929, which took 3 long years to bottom out. It will be more catastrophic than 2008, which was contained by trillion-dollar bailouts. This will be a global margin call. The liquidity, the money, will vanish in an instant. The Federal Reserve and the government cannot stop it. They are the ones trapped. They can't print another $10 trillion without causing instant hyperinflation. They can't raise interest rates without blowing up the $34 trillion in government debt. They can't cut interest rates without admitting that everything bubble was a lie and reigniting inflation. The system is finished. It has been living on borrowed time since 2008, and the bill is finally, irreversibly due. The final, philosophical lesson is this: denial is the most powerful force in finance. People want to believe the illusion because the reality is too terrifying. They trust the very institutions that are building the trap. The coming collapse is not a tragedy, it's a transfer. The prime brokers, the architects of the shadow system, will seize all the real assets. They will take the stocks, the bonds, the real estate, and the infrastructure from the over-leveraged funds and, ultimately, from you. This is the final move in a 50-year game to end the middle class. You've been given the receipt. You know the mechanism. The question is, what will you do with it? Share this video. Get this information out of the echo chamber. Talk to your friends, your family. Are you skeptical? Good. You should be. Leave your skepticism, your questions, your anger in the comments below. And subscribe to this channel for the truth that cuts through the noise. This isn't about fear. It's about preparation. This is the last warning. Are we wiser now? Or are we just walking the same path in better suits?